You're listening to the Run for Your Lives podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And this is the Run for Your Lives podcast.
This episode is the adventure horror film Anaconda, directed by Luis Llosa and released April 11th, 1997.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
This movie actually came in as a suggestion from one of our listeners. We were looking for a movie to do this week, and I checked our Facebook page, and this was in the message box, so here we go.
Yeah. See, we listen sometimes.
Sometimes, yes.
All the time. We're here for you. We'll listen to you guys.
Yes, of course.
Sometimes we won't do it, but we'll always listen.
We'll always listen. And if you want to suggest a movie, listen to the end of the podcast where you can find us on social media and you can send us your thoughts.
Yep. Love to hear from you.
Absolutely. So this is one that Pake had not seen prior to this recording. Having seen it a bunch of times, I'm really looking forward to what you thought of this one.
Yeah, it's another one of those like kind of classic everybody's seen movies that I just has been on. I mean, like clearly I know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's been around forever. It's in the zeitgeist. It's in pop culture, but like it's just one of those things. It's like, I'll get around to it eventually, and then eventually never happens. But eventually does happen when I have a podcast that covers movies like this.
Yes.
And we're always going to get to them eventually then.
We are. Yes. I like surprising you with movies you've never heard of. However, in this case, you knew the movie, but you hadn't watched it. And I forgot about that. So I actually texted you earlier today and said, hey, have you seen this one? And when you said no, I knew we were both in for a treat.
Yeah. I think this will be a fun one. Maybe not too long of one, but a fun one. And I'm excited for that.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. This was suggested by a listener, but it's been on the list for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
We just hadn't covered it. So now here we are.
Mm-hmm.
So we should start out the way we always do. I've got some production notes. So this one was filmed in Amazonas, Brazil, with most of the river scenes filmed on the Rio Negro near Manaus, Brazil, as well as several other locations in California, including the LA County Arboretum and Botanic Garden. That's where they filmed the rest of the river scenes. It's a cult fan favorite, despite only having a 37% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. The tagline is, when you can't breathe, you can't scream. The budget was $45 million, but it grossed $136.8 million. It's 89 minutes long. Pake, bring on the synopsis.
A National Geographic-style film crew is taken hostage by an insane hunter who forces them along on his quest to capture the world's largest and deadliest snake.
Oh, man. Is this a good time to tell you that I am terrified of snakes?
Really?
Terrified. To the point that I was in Petco and a guy walked in with a boa constrictor wrapped around him and I had to go to the car because I had a panic attack.
Wow.
It's real bad.
And yet, Snakes on a Plane is still one of your favorite movies.
It is. It is. I don't have anything against the CGI snakes.
Right?
Yeah. So I love Snakes on a Plane. This one, while not my favorite movie, is a really fun watch. And I'm really excited to break it down with you because, again, you just saw it for the first time.
Yes. And today was one of those, which I feel like a lot of these kind of older cult classic movies like this, my snark levels go real high on my notes. And so those are always going to be fun. A lot of jokes.
That's what I was hoping for.
So, yeah, I think it'll be fun. Just a quick little run through, because there's not a lot of meat to this movie. It's pretty straightforward. And I think even as we like really dive into our usual character way of doing things, I mean, we want to start with like the main top billed character, which is going to be Terry, played by Jennifer Lopez. I think we're going to get kind of like, so we get introduced to this character and then one thing led to another and it ended like this, like we're just going to, so, we might try to stick to character, but then we're going to jump around all over this movie as we like to do. So don't be surprised when you're like, why are you talking about the way that ended when you skipped over this entire plot point? We'll get there eventually.
We'll get there. We do things a little bit different. Yeah. We're character driven. We jump around a lot.
Yeah.
It is who we are, and we do not apologize for it.
Right.
Speaking of Jennifer Lopez, I have to say this one came out the same year as Selena, which I loved that movie. It was such a great movie. Of course, it was about the Tejano singer Selena Quintanilla Perez.
Yeah, it's very different roles for her. Very different roles to do things. But yeah, I remember I watched Selena back then. Like, that is a movie that I did see back then when it came out. And I got very inspired and super, because I'm a big music person. But it's funny what I actually ended up doing, for people who remember like that story and especially that movie, because there's a lot of focus on her younger brother, AB. And so because of that, I had to like look into, and now like AB Quintanilla does his own like rap hip hop kind of thing, the Kings of Cumbia and all of that. And so like I got really into listening to AB's music after watching that movie. That was kind of
yeah, it's like you said, it's definitely a different role for her. And for me it was a big difference because I remember watching her as the fly girl on In Living Color, which is of course Keenen Ivory Wayans TV show, sketch comedy show. So that's where I saw her. And I loved Selena. With this movie, very different. A lot more CGI. Can't wait to talk to you about the CGI, Pake.
Yeah, right.
Dying to talk to you about the CGI.
Yeah, but yeah, the cast caught me off guard because, again, this is one that I haven't seen. And since I hadn't seen it, like, I've known what it is, but I didn't realize who all was in this movie. And so it like started and just the cast list is playing over the music and the visual of the river. And I was like, holy crap. I was like, Jennifer Lopez, like we were talking about Ice Cube, Jon Voight, Owen Wilson, which this was a year before his role in Armageddon, which was kind of breakout, really cool to see. So I was like, this was even a little bit before that. And
definitely
it's interesting to see, early Owen Wilson, Danny Trejo, even though it was a very small little thing, a much younger Trejo than I'm used to seeing. It was very cool to see. Alternate dimension Marty McFly. And then, of course, not a huge name, honestly, we're being real, but keep it in the Run for Your Lives family are Sheriff Sam Parker from Eight-Legged Freaks.
Yes.
Carrie Ware. Was it?
Yeah.
Where? I don't know.
We've debated this so many times.
Yeah, right.
let's just let that go.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, Jonathan Hyde, who yes. Yes, he was in Jumanji. But he's Eldridge Palmer from The Strain, which is one of my favorite vampire shows.
Yeah, I didn't ever finish it, but I watched the first 2 seasons, I think.
Yeah, it was really good.
How much it ran, but yeah, it just kind of fell off of it. But maybe that's due for a rewatch at some point.
Yes,
I have the time for that.
You should. We'll see. You don't have the time for it.
I've been trying to finally start Yellowstone for God knows how long.
Oh my gosh, that is on my list too, along with The Boys, and I'm trying to pick which one.
The Boys is a quicker watch to get through.
All right. I've heard it's very gory and bloody and crazy, and even things you wouldn't expect to happen.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Okay, good. Those are my types of shows. I really enjoy them, so I'm down with that.
Yeah. But, we talked about casting, but yeah, then the kind of the characters that they play that we get introduced to, which again was weird kind of going into this blind, not knowing a whole lot about what was going to happen, seeing, Dr. Stephen Cale, which is Eric Stoltz, and thinking, okay, cool, lead character. And then realizing, that instead Eric Stoltz, as Cale, decides to use almost the exact same acting method and approach to this movie as he did with Back to the Future, which was to not be in it. So
yes, true.
So then I'm thinking, oh yeah, the two leads have a romantic background, being rekindled, par for the course, whatever. And then I was like, or he's just going to take a nap the whole movie instead. That's also an option.
Yes.
I legitimately forgot he was in the movie several times. Like there's a point like after the final like fight with the snake, and then Terry and Danny go back into the boat and they go back to his bed. And I was like, oh God, I forgot he was in this again. Legitimately. I was like, oh, and then the two of them will get out of there. And oh God, yeah. That guy's still there. I forgot.
Yeah. But, if you look at it, he does come awake from his little nap time at opportune times to help everyone out. Really. Oh, yeah. He could have been more help if he had properly checked his scuba gear before he went to pull the rope out of the propeller. Or if he had just let Serone do it and not been having a dick measuring contest.
Right. Yeah, I have those about that where I said, like, there's just note that's like, and Cale wakes up and considers joining the movie before it ends.
Oh my God.
Or the snake grabs Danny. Terry's able to get the gun, pops it in the head a few times. Snake dead. Serone pissed. And then I was like, before Serone can kill our crew, Cale reminds us that he exists, and he drink darts Serone in the back. And then Cole goes back to sleep because that's enough being in the movie for now.
It's Cale, not Cole.
Cale. I thought I said Cale.
No, you said Cole.
Yeah, same thing. Does it really matter?
No.
He's in the movie for 20 seconds.
Yeah, but they had a romance that lasted for 5 of those 20 seconds.
Right.
And then it's never really referred to much at all, other than she's playing nursemaid to him.
Right.
Again, we're jumping all around because we haven't even really picked a starting character. We're just like diving in wherever we want.
Yeah, well, we're introduced to them as a unit first, and then we kind of figure out, oh, Terry's the one we're really following here. Because at first I thought, oh, Stephen Cale is going to be the main character. I was like, yep, Eric Stoltz, but no, Eric Stoltz will never lead. No.
Well, he did. I mean, he had 1 or 2 films in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Back to the Future was not one of them.
No. He's still technically in that movie.
Yes, I know.
The one scene, like, punching Biff, and you're like, that's somebody taller than...
Yes.
Yeah. They left that, or it was like, we can't see his face, so I think they left that like little like scene. Yeah. So like, technically Eric Stoltz is still in Back to the Future.
He has one scene.
Right.
One tiny scene.
But yeah, so then Terry Flores is his director and filmmaker because he's going out to the Amazon to shoot a documentary on this certain tribe of people. And then we have Danny the cameraman, Denise is the production manager, Gary's the sound guy, and Warren Westridge is the voice and face of the documentary.
He's the voice in the face.
He is their Richard Attenborough,
Yes, he is. Actually, I think it's David Attenborough.
David Attenborough. Richard.
Yes.
Names, who needs them?
Richard Attenborough was in Jurassic Park.
That's right. Yes.
I'm keeping us honest. And Peg's throwing out names.
Yeah. Who knows? So anyway, Angelina Jolie as no.
No, it's her father.
All right. Oh, okay. That makes more sense because, like, man, she looks real different. A lot of prosthetics. Okay, no.
Yeah, no, that's her dad.
Okay.
I knew this was going to be this way, and I'm down for it. I hope that our listeners also are laughing along with us about this.
Right.
Because when you have a movie about giant animatronic snakes, you just have to.
Yeah.
That's what has to happen.
Yeah. So if we want to go with Terry as the main character, even though a lot of what she does through the first half of the movie is just kind of be there. And, you really don't see her taking place until kind of after the big, climax of the movie and the big, on the denouement. There we go. I'll use some literary terms on the come down. The as they sort through after the big moment. Use that. That's really where we see her come to light. So honestly, talking about her, like my notes really don't even start on her until they're taking the boat back from Serone after he's decided, look at me, I'm the captain now. So when they want to get the boat back, which I say the team executes this plan to capture him, I will call the maneuver Jenny from the cock block, because Terry's putting the moves on Paul Serone to distract him, and she's kind of flirting with him and all of that, but then Danny has a chance to sneak up on him, which of course he catches Danny, but then Westridge smacks him from behind with the golf club.
Westridge!
Which then Westridge with his own line, asshole in one, and I was like, man, that sounds like a line I would have come up with, so bravo Westridge for that one.
I know, I had forgotten about that when that scene came up. I just thought it was incredibly awkward. It was Jennifer Lopez.
Oh, so you're doing it too. You're calling Jennifer Lawrence.
Yes,
so
but I can delete it.
But you can't now.
Okay, so Jennifer Lopez in that scene, it just came across as so awkward, and it was almost like not a general awkward. It was like awkward, like real life awkward, seeing her play that.
Yeah, it really was.
It wasn't, yeah, it was kind of like, I don't have to act in this scene because I'm straight up repulsed. And I don't want to do it. Because she was coming on to him, and it was really awkward. The things she was saying to him, I mean, why would he think she was going to come on to him? Of course he's going to be onto it. Because she had been repulsed by him the entire time. She was the one woman that wasn't completely bowled over by his charm.
Yeah. And then, after that, like, again, I've talked about, then it's just kind of like the ending of the movie is really where I focus on her. With her and Danny going into this old abandoned structure to find fuel. And they do find fuel. And then Serone finds them because, double tap people.
Yes.
It applies everywhere. Always.
Universally, you must do it. Yeah, I call that house the Snake House.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the Snake House.
Yeah, and they have this whole thing. Serone is, got them with the second one, he has them tied down. He's like, monkey blood, which is, it's a whole thing in snake culture. You wouldn't get it. But it was like monkey blood, Kazoon tight. No. But, and then he lures the snake in, and this big giant anaconda comes in and is very much like, my name is another anaconda. You killed my father. Prepare to die. And he waits till he has the anaconda's wrapped all around them, and then he pulls a big old net on them, and that plan does not work at all, clearly. And instead, he gets a nice big hug.
Yes. Big hug, but not quite enough to kill him. I mean, kind of it did. He had one last ditch effort.
I hated that so much.
I
was the stupidest thing.
Too.
The stupidest thing. I was like, did they really have to do this like partially digested body of Serone like winking at her? I was like, I could have done without that.
Yes, it was stupid.
It's so dumb. I was like, because I was like, Joey just like, he threw him up. I was like, I taste like trash, probably.
Yes.
But yeah, the wink thing like took me out so much. I was like, I really could have done without that. That was dumb.
You know what took me out of it? The snakes screaming. Because they do not do that.
No, yeah. I definitely have a note about that too. Because the the snake, because they hooks him like fishing. Mm-hmm. Which is interesting, using the monkey as bait. And then asking Gary to shine the spotlight in his eyes to blind it. But yeah, this anaconda is making all these like strange screaming and growling sounds, which are all very clearly recorded by a guy. Mm-hmm. Frank Walker, to be precise, was the name of the person who did the vocal effects for the anaconda. And that kind of took me out of it too, because like you're just like seeing this snake roll around and you're hearing a person, literally a person who's going, and it's like,
do you know what I got out of that?
No.
The snake was going into the water screaming, and all I could think of was, I'm melting. It was like the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, that's another.
Like,
he's like going. It's like they're not even putting any like effects.
Yeah.
To like deepen and like make it sound more animalistic. Like no, it's literally some guy in like a studio booth just making weird noises into a microphone. They're like, yeah, that's gonna do it. That's good enough. Roll with it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's not gonna live up to the amazing Jurassic World that was Jurassic Park that was only 4 years before, and we had the amazing Tyrannosaurus sound effects like that were so good. They should have continued that. Like there should have been. They should have done something like that, because this screaming thing, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't like snakes, but I've seen snakes on a plane, and they did not scream like that on snakes on a plane. Not that that's the basis for all snake
Like, you could have found some kind of hissing, and you could have thrown some different reptilian, even like dinosaurish kind of sounds into it, because it's this giant creature. Sure. But no, instead they're like, just put Frank in the booth.
Yeah, not effective.
No.
Took me right out of it. I'm like, we're at the very end of the movie. There's very little left. No, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
No. Between the winking and that, I'm like, wow.
Yeah, there's some dumb stuff in this movie. Is it still, I had a blast with it. I don't remember if I said this while we were recording or not. Again, that's why we try not to talk too much before we start recording, in case. So maybe I've already said it. I don't remember. But yeah, I was like, this might be one of those movies that it's short enough to where I was like, yeah, I'll watch it probably many other times, just to, just as like throw it on in the background, or do some kind of, fill in some stuff. Because it's fun, especially talking about some of these things that are really dumb about the movie.
Yes.
I'm already planning on watching the Riff Tracks version of it tonight when we're done recording. That's happening. I need to see what's said about that. But yeah, it's just like the way it just like jumps around and crashes through stuff, which is fun, I guess. It's like, definitely not things that snakes can actually do at all. But it's a movie. We'll go with it. It's fiction. There's a lot of things about that. Yeah, Terry running from the snake, and then it's like the other one. He just loves to burst through windows. Oh, here's Connie.
Oh my god,
just ready to go. But yeah, a lot of things that snakes can't do. Jump back to the very beginning of the movie. I was like, oh, it's a Star Wars movie. Look at that opening scroll. But it's stating that anacondas will regurgitate their food to find new prey to kill and eat again. And I was like, immediately pausing. It was like, that doesn't sound right. And then I was like, let's go to the Google machine and see what it says about snake behavior and anacondas. It's like, yeah, no, not true. Some great over exaggeration for movie drama. They regurgitate their food when threatened, or other circumstances when they need to be able to move quickly. It's for mobility, but it's not some like thrill of the kill thing. So it was.
So if you think about it, then it happened in the movie like you would expect, because she regurgitated Serone because she needed to be able to move quickly.
Mm-hmm. So that makes more sense. But yeah, the way it was like, it will throw up its food so it can hunt again. And it's like, no.
No.
But I'm not going to be too worried about that stuff, because it's pretty obvious this movie is going to be full of stuff like that the second you start it. And you're like, it's fiction. Just go with it.
Enjoy it for what it is.
Exactly. Because they're not, there's a lot of things. They're not swinging their, like, jabbing their tail at you to knock something out of your hands. Or like,
no,
not quite. Now, one thing they did get very correct, of course, is when Westridge is there and then the anaconda comes out of the water. Because when an anaconda spits a monkey at you, it's a sign of disrespect in snake culture. Everybody knows that. So.
Oh my gosh.
If you have friends who are giant snakes, they know that's a big disrespect. I spit a monkey at thee. That happens.
Okay. But. All right. I'm waiting for that to now transition to the real world, so that, a sign of disrespect is for you to regurgitate a monkey in front of your friends. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've done it if I'm really pissed off at a friend.
Okay. All right. That's good to know.
I'm so mad I could throw up a monkey right now. You never said that?
No, but now I know I do not want to make you mad at me.
Right. But yeah, that's really all I even have for Terry myself. And it's not even about her, but just kind of the end, the Shirashama tribe showing up, and they're like, oh, what a beautiful ending. But really, if you're looking at these people, like these natives, they're all just like, who are you people? You blew up all our shit, and now you're filming us? Stupid Americans.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Go away.
Cale admitted that Serone was right, because he had said no, that Serone was not accurately explaining where to find the Shirashama. So that was interesting to admit that. I thought that Oh my gosh. I mean, I don't even know where to start or go with this movie because there's just so many things that are crazy. I mean, Terry and Cale had that lovely little discussion about fireflies and nature.
Mm-hmm.
And that was where we saw their 5-second romance.
Yeah. And it was like, oh, the leads, the romantic leads. And then they're like, no, he's just going to suck a wasp and then lay in bed for the rest of the movie. That's what's going to happen instead.
And the moral of the story is, if you're going scuba diving or going underwater, you should make sure to please check your equipment for venomous wasps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which I was like, he has a wasp in his mouth underwater? I was like, well, that's suspicious. And then, yeah, of course, you find out pretty easily eventually. It's like, yeah, Serone did that somehow.
Yes, I'm not quite sure how he did it.
Seemed to just have whatever he needed at a moment's notice. He's like, oh, I've got dynamite here and a poisonous venomous wasp.
I don't know where he got half.
And here's a giant snake skin that I pulled out of my back pocket. I don't know. Where did that come from? Who knows?
I think it was on the boat. On that boat that I think it was the poacher's boat.
Yeah, but he didn't like carry a bunch of stuff over there. Like, just kind of jumped from one boat to the other. I didn't see him like, hang on, let me get my dynamite, snake skins, and jar of wasps.
No, right, I thought it was Danny Trejo's boat.
Oh.
Yeah.
The wasp thing was after that, right? Or before that?
Before that, but the snake skin
the snake skin he got from
Danny Trejo's boat. He's credited as the poacher.
Yeah.
But, I have to go back to the opening and just say that it did set up some tension at the beginning because we don't really get to see anything. We just see a very scared Danny Trejo.
Yeah.
Who decides to commit suicide rather than deal with whatever the predator is. So we really don't get to see that.
Yeah. I was so worried he was going to knock one of those cages with the monkeys or birds off into the water as he's stumbling around through them running from the thing. Like, that was me just from a, like, realistic standpoint. It was like production. It was like, are they really set up on like a boat house with a dock and stuff with these birds and cages? I was like, because he like bumps into some of the cages running out. And I was like, don't knock one of those cages off into the water. That's bad.
Yeah, definitely. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I questioned. I'll wait until we get to the Serone thing because I feel like we're going to just have to, once we get to Serone, I have a big question about why he had to have the big snake. Mm-hmm. But let's move on to Danny, who is played by Ice Cube. Yeah. She's a friend of Terry's and the cameraman. And he had some fun discussions with Westridge when he was turning down his music. Uh-huh. That was a little skirmish between the two of them. Verbal skirmish, I guess. Mm-hmm. Most of my notes are tied into Terry's when it comes to him. Uh-huh. Just because they seem to be a tandem the entire time.
Right. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot on him other than just like little things like him dating the movie pretty well by saying when they get back home, he's looking forward to his cellular phone.
Yeah.
It's like, man, yeah, that's the late 90s. But no, I do, talking about Danny as a character, he is the planner. Mm-hmm. It's funny because he's just the cameraman, but then when you see that he's the guy who's able to put things together really well and figure out what needs to be done. Westridge teaches him how to drive the boat pretty quickly and easily. He's like, yeah, I can handle that. Of course, it gets stuck under his driving, but I think that would have happened no matter who. But then it was him. He's like, just quickly assesses the situation. Is like, all right, we got to winch it out. We need to rotate a rope around that tree, and then we're going to pull. And so he knows exactly what they got to do. And so almost everyone goes out into the water to do that, leaving Denise, the vengeful girlfriend, behind, alone with Serone, which then she hesitates to kill him. And then he uses some very impressive moves to kill her, chokes her out with his own legs. I was like, man, that's actually pretty intense. I was like, that was, wow. R.I.P. baby bird. But yeah, and then when they're trying to escape this snake, this giant, the second anaconda, that he's the one that like pins it down with this pickaxe to the floor and tells Terry to go climb up out the smokestack and get out that way. And then he's like, I've seen Jaws. We got to make it go boom. That's the only way to get out of this.
Yes.
Which is funny that because, the giant screaming man snake on fire.
That was
falling
actually
down.
that was the female snake that was on fire.
I'm just saying because it's a man screaming.
Yes.
I love how overconfident Danny is. He's like, we got him. And it's like, as the snake is sinking into the water, extinguishing the flames on its body, I'm like,
yeah, no.
It's a little overconfident saying that we got him. And he's like, let's go get the fuel. I was like, oh, the fuel that you just set on fire. That fuel?
Yeah. Yeah. And we've already talked about double tap. That applies to animals as well. Or
absolutely.
Reptiles as well.
The axe was much more effective. That was a good choice.
Yes. He seemed ready to fight. He was, at that point, he was just taking care of business.
Mm-hmm. Again, like I said, not a lot of notes on the quote-unquote main characters. Yeah. Because a lot of that is that kind of that action there at the end. A lot of notes I have on Serone. Because, I mean, he does the movie does revolve around him. And
oh, man, does it ever.
His manipulation, his plot, what he's doing, and his interactions with everybody else.
It's true.
Mm-hmm. So we could jump into that, unless you have any other notes about other characters. Maybe talk a little bit about the crew, which I don't have much. Again, like I talked to Cale does mention one thing, that the kangaroo, when he's going into the water to deal with the propeller.
Oh, yeah.
That's what he's worried about. I had heard about that before seeing this movie. Yeah, that's a very real, very true, very unsettling thing. He was intelligently rocking a full wetsuit. Of course, it is real, but it's not as, big of a threat, I guess, as the movie makes it seem, where it's like, anytime you go in the water in the Amazon, you're getting a fish up your pee hole. That's not going to necessarily happen.
Doesn't it sound terrible?
I know, but it has happened. There are definite recorded incidences of it happening, because they're little parasitic fish that usually, they get into, the gills and mouth and stuff of other fish, but it's kind of the, certain ammonia or whatever that's, that they're, head towards. So it is a thing, but it's kind of more of an Amazonian, in Brazil, think of in America, we tell kids don't pee in the pool because there's a chemical in the water that will turn it blue or red or whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of what they tell kids in Brazil. Don't pee in here or this fish will swim up you.
Oh my gosh.
Even though this one does have some truth to it, because it has happened and can happen.
Oh, man. I feel like, okay, let's just go to Serone. Let's go to Serone.
Yeah, because I think, that's really only other than just Denise and Gary having their little hookup sesh in the jungle at night. Never a good idea.
No.
Gets charged by a wild boar. Serone's right there to save them, of course. But then, they got more of a romance arc than Terry and Cale did.
Yes, they did. Yeah. We'll get to that part, though, because that's kind of when Gary buddies up with Serone after that experience. Mm-hmm. And becomes an idiot.
Yes.
Basically.
So, Paul Serone. So the crew first comes across him in a storm. His boat is all tangled up in the roots, and they get him aboard to help him. And then right away, I was like, well, this is fishy. I was like, he just left the boat. He's not getting people to help him get his boat unstuck and go on his own way. What? He's like, oh, I'm just going to get on your boat with you. And then immediately you can tell that him and Mateo recognize each other. Mm-hmm. And at first I was like, do they not like each other? And then as you go on, you're like, oh no, they're in cahoots. And the whole thing was planned. Mateo was their captain for a reason. He knew he was taking them by there and they were going to pick him up.
Yeah. We learn all about Paul Serone. He tells them that he's a snake hunter. Mm-hmm. He thinks that he can help them find the Shirishamas, even though Cale disputes his story and tells him it's a different tribe of people. He tells them that he captures snakes for a living for zoos and collectors, but not poaching because that's illegal.
Yes.
He calls the Shirishamas the people of the mist. He and Cale, I think he was expecting Cale to actually die. Mm-hmm. I think he wanted him to, because he and Cale got into chest bumping. I know I referred to it earlier as dick measuring.
Mhm.
But honestly, they were puffing up their chests about who knew more and who was better. And
he's trying to manipulate these people into going a certain direction and taking him to, down this path towards this like temple snake area, where he thinks, well, these snakes definitely are, and I can capture them.
Yes, a big one.
Yeah. And so with Cale being like knowing more than he thought he would know and was calling him on his bluff and changing direction for the team constantly, he's like, I've got to get this guy out of the way.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, he did. I said he just made it to where he took a nap the whole movie.
He did. But he did live, which was, I really thought the first time I watched it that he was going to die. But funny enough, it was Serone that saved him doing a cricothyrotomy, I believe is what it's called.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think he was in that moment. He's like, well, I'm going to get graces with these people by saving the guy. But then he probably knows if the guy's, Cale's going to be a little, out of the picture, under the weather for a while still.
Incapacitated.
Yeah. So he's like, get these people to trust me and save this prick.
Yeah. From the situation that Serone created.
Yeah. I mean, he's very set. You figure that out pretty early. I mean, he's very set on getting them down a very certain route. And then even Terry's kind of putting those pieces together.
Yes.
It's a little suspicious. Like, that's the same route that you wanted us to go down. And he's like, well, for a different reason. And then when they get to the big wall that, as Gary's swimming around there, he sees, like, we see the totem. So it's connected to the natives. And so we know, this has to do with what he's after. And Terry calls him and is like, you said this route and this river. Why is there a wall here? Why would you lead us to a place that's blocked? And he's like, that's new. And she's like, sure it is.
Yeah. She's like, I'm not panicking. I'm just looking at this wall that's blocking the river that Mm-hmm. But he happens to have dynamite. Wow. Is this like the Hunger Games and they deliver things to you?
Right. Like, here's my handy dandy dynamite.
Yeah. He blows it up, and what happens? Snakes go everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I was with them on this, terrified, thinking, ugh, I don't want this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mateo at that point is like hosing the deck down, trying to get them into the water.
Right.
To get them off the boat, because people are freaking.
The one on Westridge's finger was fun.
Oh my God. Yes. How did you like that practical effect?
I did. I like it. I like practical is always better than CGI.
Yes.
We've talked about that a million times.
CGI
in this movie, not great. Does not hold up a lot. But the practical effects, when they went for them, I respect and I appreciate.
Yeah, always. This is when they also figure out that they've only got fuel for about 100 miles. And then, and as you said, Terry starts to figure it out.
Yeah. And then after that, because they need, fuel, so then they see the boat that Trejo was at in the beginning. So Serone says they'll stop there, see if there's fuel. But then, of course, we see that there's more, something a little more sinister going on.
We see a newspaper clipping.
Yeah. He walks in and there's a picture of Serone, Trejo's poacher character, and Mateo, which then is like, oh yeah, so they are working together. They do know each other.
Yes.
And this was all planned. There's no fuel, but Serone does find his treasures. And then on the way back to the boat, Mateo becomes lunch.
Yes. Yes. And it doesn't seem like anyone, the crew were very concerned about Mateo. Like, they're like, where is Mateo? We need to find Mateo. Serone is just kind of like nonchalant. He was so smarmy.
Yeah.
That it
was like, oh, well, he got eaten.
Yeah.
Okay.
No big deal. He was my friend. They don't know it, but I'm thinking, he was your friend. Is this how you treat your friends? Obviously, I don't want to know how you treat the people that you don't like, because it's going to be pretty bad.
Mm-hmm. Which that was the first human kill that we see of the Anaconda, which was really... Actually, I thought it was really well done. I liked the effect of constricting and twisting Mateo's body and then, like, snapping the neck. Was really cool as he's twisting him around. I thought that was really well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we first saw the Anaconda with the Black Panther jaguar, to be specific.
Oh, when the eye popped out of the panther, that was just dumb. Thinking, what on earth? And then by the time it was done with the panther just looked like a stuffed animal.
I'm pretty sure it was like a taxidermy thing.
Yes.
They were just like, wrap it up and drag it away.
Yes. It's over. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
So then that's where he pulls out the big snake skin, which I was wondering where it comes from. But it makes sense if it was in that big box he pulled from Trejo's boat. Because he's been tracking this big bad boy for a while. Carrying around this shed skin that needed at least 3 or 4 years. The team's very much like, and you're just fine with everything that's happening, and we're just in this with you now? Awesome.
Yeah, and Gary's fully on board at that point.
Yeah, Gary and Westridge both kind of get pulled into the scheme. Gary more just on this like weird sense of adventure, and Westridge, I think, just out of fear.
Yeah. He's kind of funny. Westridge has a lot of fun one-liners. Like, when they're trying to blow up the wall, he's like, oh, for God's sake, blow the bloody thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Serone fires this gun when they're going up to the poacher's boat, and he's like, I get the distinct impression there's nobody home. And he's just, and then they find out that, they've lost Mateo, and he's stuck in the middle of nowhere, and now we've lost the driver. Like, he's just continually annoyed with the situation.
Right.
And at first, I thought, oh my God, I'm going to hate this character because he's so pompous, wants people to take his bags to his room and blah, blah, blah. But as time went on, I started to like him because he just made me laugh the entire time.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so Gary... Yeah, he's in on it for a little bit until he's not. Because, we talked about them trying to catch the anaconda like a fish. But then, he gets off the hook, boards the boat, causes some chaos. Tranquilizer arrow to the mouth and completely just ignores it. And was like, thanks for the appetizer. Now I'm just going to grab me some Gary for the road and bon voyage. You see Terry trying to shoot the snake to save Gary, and then Serone stops her. It's no good to me dead. And that's when you see, like, he has no care for human life whatsoever. It's all about capturing this snake alive.
Yeah. My question is, why couldn't he just get a smaller one, take it home, and grow it big and then sell it? Why does he have to get a big one that is going to be a pain in the ass?
Cash now.
Okay.
Make money quick. I don't know. Yeah, because that's all he's worried about is how much money he can make off of a giant anaconda. Worth a lot of money.
I did love when the snake spit the monkey back up. That was funny to me.
Big sign of disrespect.
Yep.
He really did not like Westridge. I spit a monkey at thee, like I said.
Yeah. But after he consumes Gary, I really didn't need to see the snake swimming in the water and Gary's body in there.
Yeah, he was going
like the imprint.
Gary always goes straight to my hips. Shouldn't have eaten that.
Oh man.
And then Serone is up there slapping Westridge around, intimidating awful. Everyone just being awful. But yeah, and then we talked really kind of what happens after that is they get the jump on him and then fail to keep him captured over and over and over again.
Yeah. Their plan to capture him was great.
Mm-hmm.
Because he wasn't expecting Westridge to be the third one.
Yeah. I liked that a lot.
Yeah. I found it funny when they were going in the water and Westridge is like, oh, fine. I was up all night picking leeches off my scrotum. Like, again, the one-liners were just hilarious.
Mm-hmm. So, I think I am done with character notes.
Oh my goodness.
Like I said, I didn't have a ton. I do have some more notes about the anacondas and the snakes and some of that stuff, I think.
I want to know this. In the movies we've covered with Owen Wilson, of which this is the second, he dies again. Is this going to be like a Sean Bean thing in every movie that we cover with Owen Wilson? His character's going to die?
Maybe. I don't know. How many of these other movies has he been in?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, we could cover his early movies, but I don't think Bottle Rocket really fits our thing. So
No.
I know he doesn't die in that one. So I don't think so. I don't think he does. It's been a while since I've watched Bottle Rocket. I'm pretty sure he lives.
Yeah, you know what? I think I've covered everything that I had because a lot of it was tied to Serone.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I think I've covered everything about that except for one note I have, the Anaconda. When Danny and Terry and Westridge are swimming out to winch the boat out of being stuck. And that's when the Anaconda makes his appearance there. Danny and Terry swim back to the boat and end up fighting with Serone. And then we get to see Westridge's death. He climbs up the rocks behind the waterfall. And I was like, well, he's hiding from a giant snake behind a waterfall. So I was wondering if a little dinosaur would crawl out onto him and scare him. little role reversal there.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, he gets snagged on his way down, which the tree snaps, brings the Anaconda down with him, knocks the boat loose. But yeah, it's funny that I thought about that immediately. He's hiding. You know, you see the Anaconda like looking around, and he's on the other side of the waterfall trying to be as quiet as I can. I was like, Lost World. And so I was like, and then a little T-Rex crawls on his shoulder.
You know what? I think they came out the same year. I think it came out in 97.
Man, that's fun.
Yeah. Maybe there's a connection between the two, like a crew member or something. I don't know. So do you have any other notes on the anacondas? I have a whole section about the differences between real world anacondas and the ones in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, all right. Yeah, no, I'm noted out.
You're noted out. Okay. Okay. So we can move on to trivia and other tidbits. So here we go. So our Peruvian director, Luis Llosa, directed 8 films between 1987 and 2005. He's not done anything since, and he's now in his 70s. Both Gillian Anderson and Juliana Margulies, who was enjoying her time on ER, turned down the role of Terry Flores. Anderson did audition for the role of Denise after turning down the role of Terry, but lost it to our favorite sheriff from Eight-Legged Freaks. Jean Reno was considered for the part of Paul Serone, as were Sean Connery, Tommy Lee Jones, and John Malkovich. All turned it down. Tim Curry was considered for the role of Westridge. F. Murray Abraham turned the role down. I'm actually happy that it was Jonathan Hyde. Thrilled. Mm-hmm. Chris Farley was offered to play the character of Danny Rich. He was interested in it, but he couldn't participate because his calendar was a bit full working on Beverly Hills Ninja. Never seen that one, but you're not surprised, right? Several cast members were deathly afraid of snakes. I'm totally with you on that. Here are a few of the differences between real-world anacondas and the ones in the movie. So real-world anacondas have rounded pupils. They gave them a slanted pupil to make them a little bit scarier. I think it worked. The anacondas in the movie attack humans, but not each other. Real-world anacondas prey more on larger animals. They rarely hunt people. They also practice cannibalism. Female anacondas, which are larger, are known to consume smaller male anacondas. In the film, the anacondas hunt in broad daylight, and they're able to move from water to dry land with no problem. In real life, green anacondas are nocturnal animals, spend most of their lives in the water. They are fast swimmers, but they are very cumbersome on land. The largest anaconda in the film is 40 feet long, the queen, and the second was 25 feet, the warrior, which is the male. But in real life, the longest known anaconda was 17.1 feet. Females are larger than males, often by 5 feet. There's a scene where they blow up the bridge, and small snakes are seen lying all over the boat. Snakes were provided by a local animal handler in Brazil. Film features a mix of practical animatronics and CGI. Anaconda CGI cost around $100,000 per second. The 2 primary Anaconda snakes were achieved through animatronics. During the filming of one scene, the controls of the animatronic Anaconda short-circuited, causing it to lose control. However, the footage was still included in the movie. In the trailer, when Gary is attacked by the Anaconda, the CGI snake had not been added, so he fell backwards with nothing grabbing at him. A stationary animatronic of the Anaconda, featured in the movie, was on display at the California Academy of Sciences in San Francisco. They had removed the skin from the tail, revealing the skeletal structure of the snake and the inner workings of the animatronic. So, the blood of monkeys that Serone throws on Terry and Danny was made with jelly and plum juice.
Delicious.
Oh, yes. After filming it wrapped, John Voight insisted on keeping the prop monkey that he shot and used as anaconda bait. He still has the monkey to this day, and it's kept in an undisclosed location.
Interesting.
Anaconda originally had much more explicit language that would have resulted in an R rating from the MPAA. To ensure a PG-13 rating, several lines of dialogue are dubbed via ADR, many of which do not match the lips of the characters who speak them. How many movies have we seen on general TV that are like that?
Right.
Was nominated for tons of Razzies. On the flip side, Lopez was nominated for a Best Actress Saturn Award. This film is listed among the 100 most enjoyably bad movies ever made in Golden Raspberry Award founder John Wilson's book, The Official Razzie Movie Guide. Despite this, it was still considered a box office success. The film spawned 4 sequels, including Anacondas, The Hunt for the Blood Orchid, Anaconda 3, Offspring, Anaconda's Trail of Blood, and my personal favorite, which I haven't seen, but I feel like I have to now, Lake Placid versus Anaconda, which is a crossover with a film we've covered on Run for Your Lives.
We might have to do that one just
for fun, right? So it's a crossover with Lake Placid, which we covered on an earlier episode. None, and I mean capital none, of the characters from the first film appear in any of the sequels. Not surprising.
No.
As late as January 2020, there's been talk of a reboot, and according to The Hollywood Reporter, Evan Doherty, who wrote several of the Snow White Huntsman movies, as well as the Divergent film, has been hired to write the screenplay.
Interesting.
Isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it would be any good, but I'd watch it.
I know. It's kind of strange. So I looked a little bit into the malfunctioning of the snake. And I found out that it, due to the nature of the set, and this is in a Screen Rant article, there was a lot of water and vegetation. It was difficult for Jennifer Lopez to get away from the animatronic puppet. It's even more difficult for anyone else to come to her aid if something were to happen. More than 1 ton of metal and wires came close to striking her, or even worse, drowning or electrocuting her. And then it goes on to say, fortunately, the only result of the puppet's malfunction is some footage of the snake's incredibly realistic moments, which found its way into the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's basically one of the mechanisms failed in the middle of shooting, and it prompted the snake to attack Jennifer Lopez for real. Yeah.
Man, that's scary.
It is, right? Yeah. So anyway, that's what I have.
Yeah. Wow. And there we have it. Anaconda. Again, I knew it's not a super long one, but it's a fun, kind of quick movie to talk about and point fun. I don't think we had a fun time. Hopefully, as long as you haven't edited out all of our jokes, I think we had a great time with it.
No.
Just playing with it. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed watching this one.
Mm-hmm.
And then talking about it is just, again, it's one of those movies just like, it's ridiculous on all levels, but it's a fun kind of ridiculous. And
yeah,
It's great.
It's a great background movie, like you were saying. I think it's great to have on in the background while you're doing something else.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Oh, wow.
Oh, perfect timing.
We know what that means.
It means...
Time to see if anybody called in with some feedback. I swear, it better not be telemarketers this time. All right, we have a little bit of feedback this week. I'm excited to get into that. Of course, I'm excited because the first one is another little follow-up on The Girl with All the Gifts. We've got 2 from that, actually. And the first one, again, made my absolute day, week, month, year, whatever. Hearing from Mr. M.R. Carey about the movie last week when we covered that. And now his little feedback, he actually listened to the episode, it looks like. And thank you so much for that. I don't know if he's listening anymore past this, but I'm grateful for that. And if he hears this or whatever, then thank you for listening, Mr. Carey. That's awesome. Because he also gave this little bit of feedback where he said, I really enjoyed this conversation. Thanks for giving both the book and the movie so much love.
Aww.
Anytime. Always.
Yes. It was great. Tony had this to say about The Girl with All the Gifts. Hi, Pake and Daphne. I just listened to your coverage and I wanted to say how much I enjoy and look forward to your podcasts. I remember when Jason covered this movie and book. In fact, I think he interviewed the author. Unfortunately, I didn't enjoy the book or the movie. Not enough vampires in this one. If you haven't noticed, I have this weird fondness for all things vampire. LOL. Also, werewolves. Oh my gosh, this is getting weird. I'm looking forward to Anaconda. I have to say, Tony, if you like vampires and werewolves, you may enjoy something that's coming up.
Very soon. Very, very
Not going to give any more away than that.
But we've got something that's definitely right up your alley coming.
Yes.
Quicker than you'll expect.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. And she said she was looking forward to Anaconda. So, of course, she did leave some feedback for that after seeing that, where she says, my daughter was only 2, maybe 3 when we took her to see this. And after, like her mama, she had fallen in love with creature features. To this day, she will watch movies like Jurassic Park or Jurassic World, Kong, and Godzilla with me. This is a good old popcorn movie. It is corny, ridiculous, but in all the right ways. My favorite characters were played by Ice Cube and Jonathan Hyde. Hyde especially because in the beginning he is such a pompous ass, but in the end he became a team player.
True, he did.
Definitely did.
Yeah, I was sad when his character died because I feel like he started to be this pompous guy and then he just, evolved into, like you said, a team player.
Mm-hmm. All right, and we do have one live Steve, maybe, probably. I don't know. We got something from Steve. Lately, he's been mixing it up. Like, what was it on this podcast? I am already getting like this and Strange Indeed mixed in my head on things. But he recently sent in one to one of these podcasts where it was like a hybrid live Steve versus post. So that was interesting. So I never know what to expect. He's keeping us on our toes. But we've got some Steve feedback in voicemail form.
All right. You're going to have to come up with terminology. It's not a live Steve and it's not a feedback, regular feedback. What are you going to call it? So you need to be thinking about that, Pate, because you did come up with the term live Steving.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you're responsible for this. But let's go ahead and hear what Steve had to say.
Hello, Run for Your Lives. This is Steve, and I guess this is for Anaconda because I didn't realize it's on Netflix. Okay, I had to pause and back up that crawl. They regurgitate and eat the victim again? Seriously? Is that real? J-Lo, Ice Cube, John Voight, Eric Stoltz, and Owen Wilson. Oh, and somebody named Jonathan Hyde thrown in there. Dang, and Danny Trejo's in this? I didn't remember that. Hey, this film crew has got more members than, I don't know, it needs. That's crazy. Oh, okay, I guess they're searching for this tribe, whatever. By the way, I don't think I've seen this movie since I saw this movie the first time. 5 whiskeys, that's breakfast on the river. That's a night for me. Maybe half a night. What exactly is the accent that John Voight is going for here? I'm not sure. He say he was pedophile. Okay, where it's not probably a good idea to try to fornicate out in the jungle at night like that, but whoa, John Voight with a gun, and wow. The action just started real quick here. Oh, okay. He killed the wild boar, not a snake.
Hey, we're not going to lose Eric Stoltz this early in the movie, right? There's like an hour left.
Okay, so they're just going to blow up somebody's dam because, I guess, get Eric Stoltz to a hospital. That's a good question. Where is he taking you? What is this thing they're trying to bring back to the boat that they're floating back? Oh, and a snake just got him, Mateo. Oh, the object lesson from John Foyt right there. This skin is 3 or 4 years old. Whatever it is bigger than this now. Well, Eric Stoltz didn't have much to do the last half of this movie. Oh, John Foyt just took a shot at Ice Cube. Oh, that snake just caught him midair and it's going to eat him. And now Eric Stoltz is waking up. Okay, not to nitpick, but she just fired a bolt-action rifle like it was a semi-auto.
Hey, I missed something, but J-Lo and Ice Cube are tied together?
Okay, because John Foyt wants to catch this thing alive. Idiot. Oh, dang. I have no idea what's going on, but J-Lo is hanging by a thread.
How many of these things are there? Well, Ice Cube just got that one. And through all that, Eric Stoltz is still alive?
Well, okay, that was a movie. I guess they got their footage of the people that missed. All right, later.
That's great.
Thank you, Steve, for that wonderful live Steving. That was a lot of fun to listen to. Well, if you'd like to submit feedback, like Tony, Mr. M.R. Carey, or Steve Brown, you can do so by going to our Facebook page, facebook.com/runforyourlivespodcast. You can email us at runforyourlivespodcast@gmail.com. Tweet at us on Twitter at RFYL Podcast. DM us on Instagram at runforyourlivespodcast. But if you're enjoying this show, be sure to tell your friends. We are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, pretty much all the other podcast players, including YouTube. Go to runforyourlivespodcast.com for all the links you'll ever need and give us a review on Apple Podcasts, as that's the best way to share the love and get us out there even more. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, we do appreciate it a lot. And of course, speaking about sharing the love, I'm going to go ahead and give a couple little shout outs to the things going on in the podcast universe around us. My other podcast, Strange Indeed. We have finally wrapped on Stranger Things 4. It is done. We knocked out the finale in a 3-hour marathon episode.
I'm surprised it wasn't longer, to be honest.
Oh, man. We had a lot of thoughts and a lot of feedback. So, thanks for everybody who contributed to that. I think that was the whole third hour was just feedback. There was so much of it. So, yeah, a lot of people had a lot to say about Stranger Things, which, yeah, totally get. It was a fun ride, and now we get to wait like 3 years for the next one. So,
that's not fair. They should have been filming this season now, like while we were watching this. Like, let's get it together. It's worth the wait. It's going to be worth the wait with this show.
Oh, it's going to be so worth it. And then, of course, House Podcastica and the Better Call Saul cast. Rima, David, and Jason covering Better Call Saul, which is in its final 6 episodes of the entire series.
Oh,
and
boy.
Holy cow, it's a lot. And yeah, so it's great to have those 3 covering it, talking about it. I'm loving the show, loving their coverage. Definitely check that out as well. Over on Panels to Pixels, they are wrapping up their coverage of Miss Marvel on Disney+. And then over on TV Podcast Industries, they also have wrapped Miss Marvel coverage and now are jumping in to the Umbrella Academy Season 3, which we will also cover on Strange Indeed eventually. We've got so many other things going on, so we will get to that one. We'll circle back around. We're going to do it as a rewatch style where we've already seen the whole season, jumping into it instead of episode by episode. So it'll be something different, but something fun. Don't know when that's going to happen yet, but keep listening to these feedback sections and you'll know when we do. And then let's see what else. Walking Dead cast, Jason and Lucy and Peter discussing Kingdom, Ashen of the North, which is like the movie spin-off side part of the series, the Korean zombie series Kingdom. They've covered the first 2 or the 2 seasons that exist over on Deadcast, and then this movie is a tie-in, and they covered that. I have not watched it yet. It is on my list because I really want to listen to this because I love their coverage of both seasons. Soon, very soon. I'm so busy, but I'll get it. And lastly, of course, over on Wilhelm, Ben and his guest, Victor Dandridge, discussing their top 5 superior sequels. That's right, movies that they thought exceeded the first movie. That should be an interesting conversation for sure. Definitely make sure to check that out. I have some ideas, but
yeah, I can think of a few that were for sure better.
Mm-hmm. All right, but that's that for that. What's happening next week here on Run for Your Lives?
Well, after DJ witnesses another example of his neighbor's bizarre behavior, he resolves to get to the bottom of his peculiar antics. When he and 2 other teens discover the sinister force below the house across the street, they can't get anyone to believe them. Why is it that adults never listen to kids? I always ask this question. Next week, we are covering another animated movie. It is the 2006 film Monster House.
Mm-hmm. It's a fun one. I hadn't revisited that since it came out in 2006, so I forgot the amazing voice cast and a lot of the great jokes and things that were in that movie, and I think we had a blast breaking that one down. So be looking forward to that.
I'd never seen it before, so it was fun to get to watch it and break it down. It's not often that you bring a movie that I haven't seen, but when you do, it's always one that's a lot of fun to talk about. So I can't wait to release this one. It's going to be great. And with that, we've reached the end of another slithery fun episode. Thanks everyone for listening. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And if you have to run, you better run for your lives.
Bye-bye.